And this guy's interchangeable. He's like a Swiss Army knife. He can go in the slot. He can play outside. Can play some safety. He's almost a version of Brian Branch from Detroit, where he plays those multiple spots and he can do it very well. I'm curious to see what this guy does. I think he's going to be he's going to be a really good player.
You said versatile Swiss Army. The first thing I thought about was McCaffrey, but he's on the defensive side of the ball. And then you mentioned Branch. I'm like, man, I need to do some more homework.
Yeah, he has that McCaffrey, like he's the McCaffrey of the defensive side of the ball. He's gonna unfortunately they're gonna attack him just because, he's
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Beardzone Podcast College Edition. I'm one of the hosts, Scooter. I got Dave and Carlos with me. How you doing, gentlemen?
Good, man. Excited to get into these prospects. We're going to be breaking down some of our favorite college players coming into this year's draft. And man, we're 1 week away from the NFL draft, man. Things are getting serious.
How you feeling, Carlos?
Good, man. It's getting real. Like you said, 1 week away.
Yeah. 1 week. Can't wait. And before anyone continues to listen, please hit the share, hit the like, hit the subscribe, whatever you got to do to get our names out there. We're always here to please. Dave's always bringing the smoke. We're learning our lesson from the comments, and y'all were pretty brutal last episode. But keep it coming, because that's good criticism.
Hey, we're all for calling me out. It's not going to be the last time you call me a stupid idiot. So we're just going to keep it moving, though, man. We're here to bring entertainment. And let's get into it, though, man. I'm not gonna bring up the CW word or the JM word this time. So we're just gonna keep it going.
If anyone needs to recount, we had a previous episode, and we'll just go back to it. Give us another few likes or a few views. But we actually have notes this time. I know. Contrary to some of the previous ones, right? So we're each going to break down two players. We're going to go 1-1-1, then repeat and give some comments just in case anyone's wondering how we're going to go and break this down. My first one, since I'll lead this off, is Rome Odunze from Washington, the great wide receiver, sitting at 6'3", 212, runs a 4.45 40. If you need a sizable guy that will absolutely catch the ball, Rome Odunze is your guy. I got it. There's Marvin Harrison Jr. and Malik Neighbors. I got that. If you need a third guy in your top three, Rome Odunze is absolutely it. Let me tell you something. Last year, he had 1,400 yards, 13 touchdowns, and the QB rating that he gave, oh my gosh.
Michael
Penix, man. I'm sorry, I just drew a blank. But they average.
What a Mickey Mouse show this is, bro. What are we doing?
We have notes, right? We have notes, I swear. But the QB rating that Penix got was 120.8. 120. That is insane. For the whole season, if you throw to Odunze, you're bound to get yards, touchdowns, and wins. Guaranteed. He is one of the, if the top three in the three, top one, whoever wants to fit the bill, Odunze can absolutely do it. He's coming in at 21 years of age. He's still young. However, every mock draft that we've seen, all these dudes are speculating crazy trades and everything else. No trades, all right? Just raw team vision here. If the Cardinals don't take Marvin Harrison or Malik Neighbors or do something insane like the Carolina Panthers did last year, I think they go to the Cardinals. I think Odunze goes to the Cardinals or here we go, Bills, since they don't have a wide receiver core anymore for Josh Allen. Jets, which I think we were talking previously about, the Jets might go up and try to win a Super Bowl this year, pending injury, right? Because we had the whole Aaron Rodgers thing. Or, Dave's going to love this, the Chiefs.
So So if you're saying that he's not going to go to the Arizona Cardinals, so that's pending if they do any sort of trading down out of that position.
Or they just don't take him.
So you're seeing him as definitely a mid to later round, first round pick kind of guy.
Absolutely. If he goes second round, the NFL has absolutely lost their mind.
Especially this year.
First time.
Yeah. I think Buffalo's intriguing because their GM is known to trade, and they desperately need that wideout. So they could be a team to really watch out for to trade up and snag him if he starts getting that 15, 16 range.
Buffalo Bills are definitely in need of a wide receiver now that they got rid of Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis. And I think that Rome Odunze is kind of I feel like he would fit really well into that system. You know, big body receiver, you know, can go up and catch the ball. You know, Josh Allen, he has a hell of an arm. So I mean, he'll be going from Michael Penix, who is one of the better deep ball passers in college football, to Josh Allen, who is one of the better deep ball passers in the NFL. Dude, the Chiefs, though, man, I don't know if the NFL's are if he goes to the Chiefs, dude, the books are going to be very, very favorable on the three-peat this year because Rome Odunze, Hollywood Brown, I mean, Travis Kelce. Everyone's talking about Travis Kelce is getting washed. I'm not seeing it. And then, you know, Patrick Mahomes at the quarterback position. I mean, that would be a very scary offense. But we are in a draft class where you have very deep skill positions, you know, coming in. You know, the wide receiver position is very, very deep. And you know, I want to jump in for my guy right here really quick. He's not a wide receiver, but you did mention him. He was the guy slinging the ball to Rome Odunze, and that's Michael Penix Jr. You know, a lot of people there's one, dude, Tampa Bay, that'd be awesome. But I mean, over the past couple of years, right, 2022, 2023, so he threw for over 4,500 yards in both seasons. He threw for over 30 touchdowns in both seasons. Had 8 interceptions in 2022. Had 11 interceptions last year. So he doesn't turn the ball over a whole lot. Now, the 11 interceptions can be brought down a little bit, but we've seen quarterbacks in the NFL throw that and still have very successful careers and seasons. So, I mean, but this guy, he's I feel like, okay, and now this is me without mentioning any names, but I feel like he's one of the more pro-ready quarterbacks that is coming into the NFL. And that's just because of what he does prior to the snap. If you watch his film, if you watch his tape, he does quick 3-step or 5-step dropbacks, and then he delivers the ball right to whoever the guy is going to be. He makes those pre-snap reads of the defense, so then that way he knows where he's going with the ball. That's what you need to do in the NFL in order to transition good. We actually saw, I believe it was Patrick Mahomes on the Barbershop, that LeBron James podcast that he does.
Yeah.
And Patrick Mahomes said after his second year, I think it was in the NFL, that he was like, I finally am starting to understand how to read the defense, you know, which just made him that much more deadlier, you know, for any opposing defenses. Michael Penix knows how to make that pre-snap read. Now, it's going to be different, obviously, in the NFL because there's different disguise packages. The talent level is so much more superior than in college football, but it is something that you want to see your quarterback do as they're coming into the NFL. Something that I noticed, and especially if you go back and if you watch the game against Texas, right? Not the game against the Michigan Wolverines and the national championship, which I will touch base on that because he did have a pretty shaky performance there. But if you go back and you watch the tape from the Texas game, he made a lot of really good throws. And the thing about it is that this guy, he can be off balance and can still make accurate throws, which is what I like. You know, now it's not as consistent, which is one of the dings that I have against him. You know, he's if we saw it in the Michigan game, consistent pressure, constant different looks coming from different angles and everything, it gets him shaky, and so he doesn't set his feet right to deliver the balls 100% of the time. You know, in the NFL, you can't rely on just those crazy passes. I've been seeing him compared a lot to Phillip Rivers just because I feel like of his throwing motion. It works for him, though. The biggest thing and the biggest concern is that he did come from Indiana. He was riddled with injuries with ACLs. He's going into a league where we've seen a lot of great players go down with ACL injuries because of the turf situation. So it is something to kind of keep on your checkboard when you're looking at Michael Penix Jr. But if you're a team that is in need of a quarterback and you're not in that top 3 position where you can get either a Caleb Williams, Drake May, or Jaden Daniels, I would put him at 4th on that list above J.J. McCarthy and Bo Nix.
Yeah, it is a little strange comparative to the natural throwing motion for quarterbacks, but he does throw it on a dime. You mentioned the 11 interceptions. Keep in mind how many times Washington threw the ball also, and how many plays that they ran. His pre-snap reads are fantastic. He learned a lot. Same thing with Bo Nix, the maturity behind the line prior to snapping the ball. And I think what a lot of people need to look at for Penix Jr. and specifically his accuracy. He threw the ball on a dime, deep, short, mid, whatever you need. He doesn't have a rocket arm like Anthony Richardson did or Milton does for this draft class, but he absolutely will put it wherever you want, whenever you need it. His footwork is a little slower. I think that's due to his injuries, but he shows a lot of mental patience in the pocket, and he knows how to do his reads. Going to a complicated offense, I think, would probably help him. Which team do you think will take him?
So,
you want.
in the most...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. What I would love to see is Michael Penix Jr. come back to Tampa. I know that we just signed Baker, and I love Baker, right? I've been a Baker fan since day one. Go back and check our episodes. The tape says it. But Baker is a little bit older, and although Baker had one great year, it doesn't mean that he's going to be consistently great like he was last year. Now, I hope that is the case. He seems to have a very strong relationship with all the guys in the locker room. The fan base has completely embraced him, and I think that he can do really well for us. But God forbid of, an injury, that can kind of put him back, or if he starts playing like what we've been known to see Baker do, I would love to see him in Tampa. And also he's from Tampa. Now, he's not from Tampa, right? But he went to Tampa Bay Tech. So that's something that I would love to see him come back home. Where I think he's going to go, especially with the most recent Schrager, Peter Schrager put out his mock draft today, and he actually made an interesting guess, I guess you can say, where the Giants move up to the 4th spot to take J.J. McCarthy. Now, I don't know how well that would be for the Giants with Daniel Jones and how much they're paying for him. But, I mean, if they do that, I don't think any of us would be surprised just because that's what the Giants do. But if they do that, I really wouldn't be surprised if the Minnesota Vikings take Michael Penix Jr. at 11. I don't think they would have to move up for him. I don't think that they would have to do anything. I think that he would fall right into their lap. And if you watch O'Connell's interview with Pat McAfee a couple weeks ago when they were at the owner meeting, dude
was selling hard.
His eyes lit up when they mentioned Michael Penix Jr. So he wants a quarterback that is accurate. I know that they brought in Sam Darnold, but come on, I don't think anybody outside of trying to just do the PR thing, which is the right thing to do if you're the head coach. You're going to back up your quarterback. But let's be real. Sam Darnold's not the hero for Minnesota. So they need a quarterback. And I think that if the Giants, decide to jump the line and take J.J. McCarthy, I think that Michael Penix Jr. would fit really well in that offense. And look at the wide receiver that he'll be thrown to, Justin Jefferson. So that could be something. If he doesn't go in the first round, he can fall anywhere in that 11 to 13 spot, though. I can see him going either Minnesota, the Broncos, or the Raiders. I wouldn't be surprised if any of them decide to take a chance on him.
Yeah, I think you're right there. But I wouldn't be really surprised to watch him fall in the second round. He's just that guy, because once you get past that 12 to 13 range. Nobody needs a real quarterback at that time.
No.
And then that's when you're going to see somebody will trade up at the beginning of the second round, snag them. Even a team that's got the aging quarterback like the Rams, they would be a perfect one to come up and snag him. I mean, he gets to sit behind Stafford. Learn from he's not one of the best, but he's a good quarterback. And he would be in an offense, I think, that fits him with McVay. So I think there's a fit there for him. But the NFL has a great way of exposing the things that he doesn't do well, and he's got a couple things to work on. He's a guy I think that he could benefit from a year sitting, even like a Jordan Love, just to sit for 1 or 2 years, and then the guy could come out and he could be a really good quarterback. And the Vikings aren't out of the question. He goes there and you put Sam Darnold in for a year. It's not like, I mean, the Seahawks got Geno Smith running the show up there. You get Donald, he gets to sit a year, gets to learn. And then, year 2, he's out there slinging the rock around, and he's got some weapons up there.
Seahawks is an interesting one.
Yeah. So my guy I got is staying with the quarterback is Drake May, because I find him very interesting in this draft. He is he's top 3, one of the top 3 quarterbacks that's going to go. But I feel like out of the quarterbacks, he's the scariest pick. Being a guy who is an ACC guy and getting to see him a lot, he looks great on highlight reels and stuff like that, but he's got a few holes. He's definitely going to go 2 or 3. I think that's a given. Caleb's going to go number 1. That's set in stone. I think the Bears are already building him a house up there and everything. So, and then after that, it's what the Commanders do. Like, do they take a chance on another North Carolina quarterback? Do they go Jalen Daniels? But I think Daniels is the sexy pick. He's got the Lamar Jackson comparisons right now. Like I think he's the guy. So he ends up falling to New England, which I think for Drake is a bad situation. I think he doesn't have any weapons up there. He falls into a huge rebuild, but it's not a good situation for the guy. The guy has a lot of talent, but he has a couple big holes, and his throwing motion is long. You can get away with the long throwing motion in college, but not in the pros. That half second can cost you, whether that defensive end or that DT gets to you quickly. And he's very inconsistent. That's the one thing I, hearing other folks talk about him and just watching him. He'll have a great game, and then he'll have just a game. It's like, what the heck? And even last year, he had 3 games that stood out between NC State, Clemson, Virginia, where it's just like, man, what is this? Who's this guy throwing to? So he's very interesting to me, but I still think he falls at 3 to New England. And the GM may or not be there in a couple of years due to that pick, but we'll see.
It's definitely. I think that if you're a quarterback coming into the NFL this year, I don't care who you are. Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May. I don't think any of them are circling. I hope I get picked by New England, because who are like? I mean, they have it's a very they're in the bottom of the rebuild phase, right? So they're trying to get their guy right now, which will probably be Drake May, and then hopefully they can build around that. But I mean, we saw what happened with Mac Jones there. I mean, he was able to rely on that defense that was still pretty good to get into the playoffs that first year, but then after that, it just didn't happen, man. And they try to bring in some mid-tier receivers, and they brought in an aging Hunter Henry, and it was just like, okay, like, are we gonna do anything? And I'm curious to see what this head coach is gonna do, and what he's gonna try and build. I'm assuming that Robert Kraft is gonna be patient with him, because he sees what the status is of the New England Patriots. But if I'm Drake May, I am. Here's a question: Would it be a dumb move to? What if New England decides to like shake it up and they say, hey, we'll trade back with one of these, with one of these other teams and maybe try and get like some skill positions, and then they can maybe get a Michael Penix or a Bo Nix in like the second round, or you know.
I would say that if Belichick is still there, yeah, because he's a guy who will, he wanted to fill a lot of positions and be strong at those positions, but they're
Yeah.
starting a new face, new trend. They need that new face of the quarterback. I just feel bad. Like in that draft room when they're announcing the Commander's pick, you're going to see the reaction of such joy from one guy, and then the other guy holding his head like, "Oh my God, I'm going to New England,"
Yeah.
and it's going to be a struggle. It's like it'll be like the Sam Howell effect. You're going to throw this guy out there, and no weapons. I mean, his biggest target's what, Hunter Henry. So I mean,
Yeah.
I feel bad for him.
No, for real. Like, no one. The New England scenario is a lot like how it was pre Drew Bledsoe. If anyone remembers that, they were kind of trash. But now that Dave brings it up, an interesting team that would potentially take that gamble, right, to go for Drake May if the Patriots decide to trade a third number 3 pick in the first round would be such a Patriot move. If Bill's still there for real. Cowboys. Because the whole speculation about Dak not being able to do it, Jerry Jones saying that he's still the guy, but you put up all these stats and you can't win the NFC Championship game. You can't even get to the Super Bowl, right? It would be very interesting to see if the Cowboys would be willing to take that gamble, seeing as how they do have an O-line. They do have a winning type mentality. They don't have a rebuilding phase in their seemingly endless amount of talent that they seem to draft, but just can't finish.
So wait, are you saying that the Cowboys trade Dak Prescott to New England to move up to the 3rd overall pick?
That could be a potential.
Dude, I would not see that coming, but that would be very interesting.
Yeah, that's definitely. But Jerry Jones is he's not the normal owner, so
they've rarely done
normal.
like a big gamble like that, and seeing as how Dak is still proven to win games, I don't think that they go that far.
Probably not.
That'd be a very interesting scenario.
As a football fan, I would love it.
Right?
That would, just simply because it would, like, because all right, so here I'll put a quick little plug. Next Thursday night on YouTube live, we will be having live reaction to the NFL draft. I believe all 4 of us are going to be here. Theo should be here as well. So it's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm hoping that it's going to be as crazy as what this offseason has already brought us. Because as an NFL fan, we love all of the craziness that has been this offseason so far. So quick little plug, YouTube live next week, Thursday, first round. It's going to be awesome.
Speaking of crazy, everyone loves crazy and chaos coming up the middle. I'm not saying he's the next Aaron Donald. I'm not going to pull a Dave and do some crazy, I'm going to say stupid, but crazy comparison of college players to pros, but I probably will do that at some point. Byron Murphy II out of Texas, D-line guy, 6 foot, not the tallest guy, but he's 297. He ran a 4.87 40, 21 years old. And I tell you what, man, if you need a guy that's big and agile, good hands, he was great in the Senior Bowl. He was great for Texas. If you watch any tape of him, and Texas' defense is why they made it to the big games, right? And that's why they beat Alabama. Right. That's why they ran the Big 12, and now that's probably why they're pushing for the SEC, right? Is their defense. It's not just all the running backs they've produced and all the other star wide receivers that they got going on. You got to look at defense, and the front line wins championships. Look at any great team that has won a Super Bowl, it's always the defense that ends up winning them the games that they need to win to get there. Not only the Super Bowl, but to get there. And the front 4, front 3, whatever, front 7, are your guys. Byron Murphy is that guy. 30 QB hurries, 4 hits, 6 sacks from last year. I know those aren't total great numbers, but coming from an interior guy, the Bucks with Vita Vea, Rams with Aaron Donald, I think Williams from Miami, right? Or now with the Jets.
Wilkins.
Oh, Wilkins. There we go. Now,
Yeah, Wilkins with Miami. He's with the Raiders now. Which is kind of crazy.
I would feel
Max Crosby.
Yeah, but Murphy would fill a huge void for the Dolphins because they lost all their interior guys this year to free agency.
Right.
And being a Dolphins fan, I'm hoping this guy slips. Like, if he could just get one more DUI before the draft, that would be awesome.
It would fit perfectly.
Another Tunsil.
Dude, yeah, great fit in Miami.
I think the guy's a stud. I'm with you. Like, just watching this guy on tape, man, he big, fast, quick, man, he's a stud.
Yeah. And if you go back to that game against Washington, when I was watching kind of the highlights with Michael Penix, dude, number 90, Byron Murphy, right? Or this guy that you're talking about.
Yeah, Murphy.
Dude, he was in the face of Penix almost every snap. The guy, and he got double teamed.
Yeah.
And he just was disruptive. And I was like, dang, this guy is really cool. This guy is something to watch.
And I know Carlos mentioned Miami. I think that'd be a great fit for him. They need to fill that gap, right? But you just mentioned double team. And I mentioned the Rams earlier, right? And Aaron Donald's vacancy. What if he goes to the Rams? He's got great strength, great agility. I'm not saying he's Aaron Donald fit, but they need to fill that gap. And if he needs to be double teamed, you arguably got Aaron Donald's replacement. I'm not saying he's Aaron Donald, but I'm saying if he has to be double teamed, you have now created a center point yet again for your defense and for the offense to accommodate for. He is a top 10 capital type guy.
Yeah, if he's not in this draft, he's a top 10 pick. It's just you got to figure probably the first 12 to 14 picks are going to be offense. But this guy, whoever gets him mid round or even, I don't think he gets past Miami. But man, what a steal for them.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be fun. And I like seeing these guys. Like, we also have another defensive line that I'm really excited to see go. He's not the guy who I'm going to be talking about here in just a moment, but that Byron Fisk, or not Byron, but Braden Fisk.
Oh, Braden Fisk, dude.
Yeah, Braden Fisk is another guy with Jared Verse, complimenting him. I think Jared Verse is another guy who I would love to see in Tampa. That would be amazing. The depth of our defensive line would just be unreal.
Dude, our edge rushers would just be the whole team at that point.
It would be, man. But you know what? If you think about it, and if you go back to Jason Light's history with drafting, he's probably someone that they're looking at. If they're like, the 26, if he's still here, maybe. So. But my next guy is a guy who isn't been making a whole lot of headlines or anything like that. Now, he did make a lot of headlines at the Combine simply because of his absolute stellar performance that he did. But I decided to go back and I decided to look into this guy a little bit more, and that's Isaac Guerendo. He is the running back from Louisville. Now, he came from Wisconsin, all right? So a little bit of backstory. He came from Wisconsin. He was actually in the backfield with Jonathan Taylor when JT was with Wisconsin. So he was kind of like in the shadow of him. But then he went into the transfer and he transferred to Louisville, where he didn't become the premier back. He was still behind Gerard Jordan, who was the premier back there in Louisville. But this guy, Isaac Guerendo, he has explosive speed. He ran a 4.3 340. He has a 41.5-inch vert, and he did a 10.9 broad jump. He sits at 6 foot, 221 pounds. He's a bigger back, right? And he just has that. He's a full athlete by all accounts. This guy is a pure athlete. His running game, really good. But I will have to say, I think, and it might have something to do with his size. He might have some issue getting trapped up in the backfield, which is probably why we're not going to see him getting taken until, I would say, at the very earliest, late second, and that's like early, I would think, for him. I see him more as a, round 3, maybe a day 3 kind of guy. But whoever gets him, I feel like is still going to get a very good, solid running back that can complement maybe a backfield that they already have, like a premier running back. I don't think he's a 3-down kind of back, but he can come in. He's great with pass blocking. If you look at his tape, he's done well in the pass block. He's done well in the receiving game, which Louisville actually capitalized more on that. Not as much. He only had a couple hundred yards receiving, but in high school, he actually was a receiver. So he does have good hands. That's probably where that vertical comes from. But he can be a threat out of the backfield if he goes to the right team. But again, the dings that I put on him is that he's not as patient in the backfield to wait for the blockers to get set. So he kind of hits the holes a little bit early. And then also he doesn't have the shiftiness that you would like to see in a running back. As far as outright speed, if it's him versus a linebacker in the NFL, I think he has that speed to get the edge on them. But as far as shiftiness in the backfield, if he gets caught up in the backfield and the O-line breaks down that play, he might run into some problems.
I don't know why. I've watched his tape and I was trying to think of running backs, and as you kept talking, I was thinking Darren McFadden or DeMarco Murray. Bigger dudes, maybe not 3-down guys, right? But when Dallas had Darren McFadden and DeMarco Murray,
yeah,
that's the guy I'm visioning, right? Or potentially a good fit for a vertical run intense type team that is going to be more of a run intense team. The Chargers.
Ooh.
Any thoughts on that?
What? I actually like him going to the Chargers. I think that Blake Corum is going to go simply because of Jim Harbaugh. And I think that if he's available in like the 3rd round, I think that Jim will probably bring him there, especially with the absence of Austin Eckler now. But Isaac Guerendo, Chargers, not bad. And it would still fit because Herbert likes to throw the ball to his running backs. And he can do that.
Yeah, and that's somebody they can steal late too. Like he's going to be that 3rd round, 4th, and they don't run zone blocking over there. So if he's running, just you got to hit the gap and go. He fits in. He would fit in really well there. And they need pass blocking help. Keep Herbert upright, and he's on that cusp of is he kind of like a mini bust or don't know with Herbert.
He might be.
Yeah. So it's a good fit for them, especially grabbing 3rd, 4th round. It'd be a good fit for them.
Yeah, I like it.
I'm going to go back on the defensive side of the ball, and I love this player. It's Cooper DeJean. Is that how it is?
DeJean. It's
DeJean. I like this guy because he's an original. He's going to be the first white corner to be ever drafted in the NFL, and rightfully so. And this guy's fast. He does have every corner is one of the harder positions to play. So, but he can recover very quickly from a mistake he makes if he's, his hips don't open up fast enough or something like that. He's quick enough and fast enough to recover for these receivers. Last year he had a good year. The year before he had a ridiculous year. He had 6 picks, 5 return for touchdowns, and he ran a punt back. So this he is fast. He had a great combine. He's definitely going to go. I don't foresee him falling past the Colts. I know I saw a mock draft where Colts take Brock Bowers. If Brock Bowers falls that low, then something's going on. But they need some help on the defensive side of the ball. And this guy is interchangeable. He's like a Swiss Army knife. He can go in the slot. He can play outside. Can play some safety. He's almost a version of Brian Branch from Detroit, where he plays those multiple spots and he can do it very well. I'm curious to see what this guy does. I think he's going to be he's going to be a really good player.
I mean, the first thing I thought about was McCaffrey, but he's on the defensive side of the ball. And then you mentioned Branch. I'm like, man, I need to do some more homework.
Yeah, he has that McCaffrey, like he's the McCaffrey of the defensive side of the ball. He's gonna. Unfortunately, they're gonna attack him just because he's.
He does open up, and you said it. He does open up his hips a little prematurely, which I believe is a coachable thing that they can fine tune. He absolutely has good speed. I think he ran like a 4.3 or something crazy. He has good reach. He does have good hands, like you were saying. He's got those pick sixes, and you know what? Iowa was in it because of their defense, right? Let's be real. Yeah. They didn't have a solid offense to save their life. Granted, they did go through I think 4 quarterbacks. So, his return ability, that's why you said Swiss Army knife. He is a good returner. He has good speed. It would be really interesting to see if the Colts take him. From a corner standpoint, I believe the cornerback position is, if it's not the hardest position, because everyone says the quarterback is the hardest position, it's probably second or third, to be honest, because you're on that island, right? You are one-on-one, or you're owning your whole zone. It's not an easy position to play, and he proved it in the Big Ten, which is pretty rough, seeing as how he went up against Marvin Harrison Jr. and all these other guys. Man, the Colts would be interesting, though.
The other thing being from Iowa, the guy tackles. And for a corner, it's if you can tackle as a corner, you get praised pretty well for. You don't see a lot of corners come up, stuff to run, and this is a guy that can do that, man. He is definitely an Iowa guy, and those Iowa guys are tough. You got Tristan Wirfs coming in from to the Bucks. He's an Iowa guy, and those guys are tough. They just whatever they do
George
to them.
Kittle.
Yeah, they are a tough group, a bunch of men that come out of that place.
Yeah, they're different breeds up there. That's for sure. Would you think that it would be so? Because I've heard a lot of, I think that there's been a lot of talk, and I think it is because he is someone who is getting highlighted right now, just simply because he will be the first white cornerback to get drafted in the first round. If he doesn't get drafted in the first round, I don't know what's going on.
And there's no way this guy doesn't. Yeah.
So, but. Do you think that it would be a disservice to him if whoever drafted him decided to move him to safety?
You know what? I don't think so. I think he's a guy he could bulk up if he needed to. He could do it. I don't know. He could make the transition. I think he could do it. He is a smart player too, so he knows. Pre-snap. I think in the NFL makes or breaks you as a player, unless you're playing defensive end. That's the easiest spot, I think. But I think he could. I wouldn't like it if that was him right out the start. I think they need to give him a shot playing on the outside. He's got, Scooter said, he's been in the Big Ten. There are good receivers in the Big Ten, and he's gone up against them and matched up well. He's healthy. I'd hate to see it. I could see it happening, but I would really hate to see it. I'd like to see him out there, see what he can do out there on that island.
Yeah, it should be fun, and I think that overall. So what do we got? We got, out of all of our players here, outside of 2, right? The Isaac Guerendo, actually my 2, Michael Penix, he might fall outside of first, and then Isaac Guerendo. He's definitely not going to be a first-round pick. But everyone else, we're saying day 1, right?
Yeah. And to hit DeJean real quick before we close this out, and a lot of guys were saying, he's a cornerback, right? He can switch to safety easily. And I think Ryan Clark said it best, right? he has the size to do the easy transition just in case he can't keep up. And I think that's a good analysis, especially from his position. I know Ryan Clark kind of says some crazy offhanded stuff, but he does have a pretty good analogy there, especially being a safety and being that guy, right? I would like to see DeJean actually make it at the cornerback position to show some form of diversity there. I know it's primarily an African-American type solely position, but it's still football. It's still America. Like anyone else is playing, right? Just give a guy a chance. But yeah, I think safety would be a good transition there. It would be pretty easy, to be honest, if it has to go that way.
Well, fellas, we're 1 week away, and you're watching this on Wednesday, right? So we're a week and a day away from the draft. This Friday, though, the boys, we're doing our mock draft. It's going to be live. We have all been assigned teams that we're going to be the GMs for that night, and we all have. It's going to be just like the actual draft. We have our board. We have the guys who we want to get, the guys who we feel like are going to fit and help the team right away. But those other guys out there, they might take them before we can grab them. So it should be a fun night of, just a bunch of chaos. So if you're only here for me to say something stupid, Friday is the episode for you to be on. Because I'm sure that it will happen. But guys, I have to say this to all of the people out there listening to us right now. We had our most successful episode last episode, and we can't thank you guys enough. We understand that there was a lot of comments and everything down there of your guys' opinions about some of the things that were said. That's okay. That's what this is about. It's football. We're not going to agree on everything. People are going to say dumb things, right? People are going to go out there on the limb every once in a while. It happens, but that's what football, that's why we love this sport, and that's why we're going to continue to bring this Beardzone podcast to you all every single week. So if you can, continue to share this video with all your family and friends and your coworkers and be like, listen to these dumb, people. There was another word that came to mind, but you know what I wanted to say. But hey, also follow us on all of our social medias. That's another way to support us. Scooter.
Absolutely. Hit the socials, yeah, right?
X.
It's not. Do a hashtag for us. It's hashtag Beardzone Pod. Anything that you hit for that will probably come to us or help us acknowledge that we have a social media following. That'd be really great. And
yeah,
as always, as Dave said, thank you to everyone who's given us a listen, given us their time of day. We're just here to try and create some content for you guys or a different perspective on certain players, certain teams, what's going on in the NFL, speculation, some chaos, some incorrect opinions, and some probably mainstream stuff as well. So we thank everyone for that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, guys. And I like the comments, guys. Like, if you're comment on there, tell us what you think about our players that we've done. And, it's good to get other people's opinion, especially when they're talking about David.
Yeah. Yeah, Carlos only reads the comments for his entertainment to see what people said about me. So, but hey, however you get your fix, it's okay with me. But yeah, let us know down there in the comments on what players that maybe we mentioned that you would like to see your team pick, or a player that you feel like everyone else is sleeping on, because there's a lot of them, especially with this draft class. There's so much talent coming into this year, and the football's in a really good place. But we appreciate you guys. We love you guys. Guys, anything for the people before we let them go?
1 week away. It's an exciting time, exciting week.
Called Cue the Music. And it's usually the circus music because everything is going into chaos. And that is exactly what's going to happen on Friday. Everyone's got to stay tuned for it. But however, on that note, we love y'all. Beardzone out.